What's up, guys? Iceman here. So apparently 2 women were mauled by a freaking black bear somewhere in Canada. I skimmed through this story a few days ago, and this incident just recently happened. I don't think the women were armed. It's terrifying how much so many people underestimate black bears. They think they're just these cuddly vegetarian creatures or something, but they're extremely formidable and very strong, and they're quite opportunistic. Like, we see them eating from garbage cans all the time. And yeah, they do eat berries and things like that, but they have been known to attack and eat humans. And even though they look soft, they could easily take on a human being, especially an average or larger sized black bear. They can get freaking humongous, to be honest with you guys, but let's check out this article and let's see what happened. A pair of Canadian mothers were violently mauled by a black bear while hiking a trail in northeastern British Columbia. Liazette and her niece, Wenelli, were joined for a nature walk on Monday by her friend Annalyn and the woman's teenage son. The group took off in a cross-country trail on Bear Mountain, located just south of Dawson Creek in the Western Canada province. The group had set out to take in some of the season's changing foliage, an activity that Miss Leonette enjoyed as she was a keen lover of the Canadian wilderness since immigrating from the Philippines nearly 15 years ago, her husband told the news outlet. The group was looking for nice spots to take fall pictures with the autumn leaves. Gary, Liazette's husband, told the Canadian news outlet, "It wasn't until it was beginning to get dark that the otherwise uneventful day took a turn that not one of the hikers is soon to forget." As the group began to head back home at around 7 p.m., the teenage son of Miss Annalyn heard a scuffle behind them that sounded like footsteps. But when he scoured the perimeter to find the source of the noise, he couldn't locate it. When he looked back, he did not see anyone. He stayed behind the group and continued on toward the trailhead. The organizer of Mrs. Annalyn's GoFundMe wrote, "The young man then heard the footsteps again, but this time when he whipped around, he found himself staring down at a black bear. He alerted the group and turned back to find the bear charging them." The organizer wrote, "The teenager then did as the British Columbia Park Service advises when confronted by a predatory bear. He fought back. Annalyn's teenage son punched the bear in an attempt to scare it off. This did not deter the bear," the friend wrote, adding that this landed the teen with bad bruising around his ribs. The bear then lunged for Miss Annalyn, and it was at this point that her friend, Miss Canoy, would sustain the lion's share of her injuries as she leapt to her friend's defense. The pair of mothers, now severely injured by the large male black bear, lay on the ground of the trail with darkness falling. After attempting to lure the bear off again with a large stick, the teenage boy and Wenelli realized that their attempts at rescuing the women by themselves were futile. The pair were able to reach safety and dial out to 911. When the Royal Canadian Mounted Police officers arrived at the scene, they found the pair of women still lying prostrate on the dirt with the black male bear encircling them. The bear appeared to be guarding the victims. The officers shot and killed the bear and were able to retrieve the women, with Miss Canoy being medevaced to the Edmonton Royal Alexandra Hospital, nearly 600 kilometers away, and Miss Bartolome being airlifted to Vancouver. Miss Canoy remains sedated and is on a ventilator. She has undergone more than 6 hours of surgery for the maiming injuries she received to her arms, head, back, and ear. "She's my gift from God. It's horrific to see my wife like that. The bear chewed her up bad," Mr. Hansen said of his wife, who described to the news outlet as being a lover of the outdoors, often partaking in hiking, camping, and riding ATVs. Miss Bartolome, while stable, remains in critical condition. In her latest update shared in the online fundraiser, Her family friend reported that she currently has a 50% chance of losing her left arm due to injuries from the bear attack, and she is at high risk of infection from the multiple lacerations running up and down her body and across her scalp. Both women are members of the small but close Filipino community based out of Dawson Creek and are described as both being members of their local churches. Annalyn worked very hard to provide for her family, and her husband has only recently started a new job, wrote Miss Rye in the online fundraiser, noting how the funds from the fundraiser will go towards covering the lost income and travel fees for visits with Miss Bartolome and her husband and their 2 teenage sons. Though encounters between bears and humans have been on the rise in recent years, fatal attacks remain relatively rare. There are, on average, less than 1 fatal black bear attack on humans every 5 years in the province. Both grizzly bears and black bears reside in British Columbia, with about 15,000 of the former and between 120 to 160,000 of the later, meaning the province accounts for more than a quarter of all black bears in the country. Despite living in a part of the world that plays host to so many of the large mammals, Mr. Hansen admits that he would have suspected his family to be the last to be the victim of such a brutal attack. We live in Canada here, and we hear about bear attacks, but we never think it's gonna be us, you know? He told the outlet. And now here it is with my family, and it's been a horrible ordeal. I'm overwhelmed. Jeez, what do you guys think about that situation? Thank God the kid was able to run and get help. It seemed like those 2 women were completely helpless at the end there, with the bear presumably guarding their bodies. Many have speculated that the bear was planning on eating them. I hope that they have the best recovers possible. And I know I'll probably be going into black bear country soon on a vacation, and I want to go and visit the Porcupine Mountains and things of that sort. But after reading about all these stories, I'm gonna make sure I'm prepared when I go on these adventures. I just don't think I'd ever go out into black bear territory even without some good bear spray, and perhaps, more importantly, a small pocket cannon, if you know what I'm saying. But comment below your thoughts on these matters and like this video if you will for more chilling tales from the Iceman.